What's up, you guys? My name is Eshi.
And I'm Chumley.
And today we are touring the West Apartments, the latest luxury high-rise building to open up in downtown San Diego. This building is on Broadway and Union Street in the core Columbia district of downtown, and it's actually about 8 blocks away from where we currently live at the Diega. It opened this past summer, and we actually toured it back in June, but the place was still under a lot of construction. So to give you a better idea of the fully realized building, we went back for a tour recently, and we hope this helps you with your decision on moving to downtown San Diego. As always, these thoughts are all our own, so if you could support us by clicking the subscribe button down below, that would mean a lot. And we've done a lot of these apartment tours in downtown San Diego, so I'll leave a link to the playlist right here. We will first take a look at the apartments themselves, then we will look at all of the amenities that they have, and then we'll give you some final thoughts on the West in general. So this is the newly designed lobby, and I think it's actually very pretty. This is a mixed-use building, so there's going to be a lot of office spaces that are not occupied fully right now. So this is just going to be the lobby, like the pass-through area for all of the office and like the government workers, I think it's going to mostly be.
And I believe like the 1st through 7th floor are office spaces, and everything over that is residential.
Yeah, so you will share this space with the office workers. So moving into our first bedroom, it is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it's southwest facing. And it's important to note that all of the 2-bedroom layouts are actually corner units. But we typically favor south-facing apartments just because the sunlight is brighter throughout the day, we feel. So this being a southwest-facing apartment will also get the sunset, which is kind of cool. And this is also the model apartment, which gives you a good idea of how the furniture layout could be in your apartment.
I also really like how it has a diagonal entryway that kind of like shoots you into the center of the apartment. Each of the bedrooms are on either side of that diagonal entryway. So you have the guest room on your right-hand side and then the primary bedroom on the left-hand side.
So the West has 2 color schemes, and I think it's alternating floors for the color schemes. So this one is the light one, which I think I prefer. You'll see the dark color scheme in just a bit. But light color scheme means light backsplashes. I think it's lighter cabinets and lighter floors, if I remember correctly.
And that was kind of cool. The microwave that's hidden away behind the cabinet.
Yeah, I really appreciate appliances being hidden away. Easier to keep clean, or to make it look like it's clean. This is the primary bedroom on the left-hand side when you walk in. Love a double sink moment. And I feel like, yeah, this bathroom was pretty big, but also like not taking up too much space, because we've seen that as an issue with some other luxury apartment buildings where the bathroom's just taking up too much square footage. The walk-in closet is also pretty spacious, I would say. It's some luxury apartments give you like storage cabinets inside the walk-in closets, and I noticed that the West does not in any of their closets, I don't believe, which is a little bit of a downer, but really it's not the end of the world. I did notice that the rooms, I feel like, are a tiny bit smaller than the Diega. And when it comes to balcony space, this I think is the biggest detriment to the West. And maybe we're coming from a point of privilege here, but the Diega balconies are like twice as wide. Some of the West apartments, like this one, this layout in particular, only has a balcony through the primary bedroom. So it only spans the width of the primary bedroom, which is already pretty small. And then the depth is just so tiny. Going into the guest side of the apartment, I think all of this is very, very more than adequate, really. It's great. I think the closet space is good. The bathroom has extra storage as well. So no complaints there. I also, actually a big pro to this layout is that the closet in the guest bathroom, or the guest bedroom, is pretty huge in terms of closets in general. So I do love that. And I also love that this has an island. I feel like for a 2-bed, 2-bath, an island is amazing. I don't know why more layouts don't do that. Moving into our second 2-bedroom layout, this one is southeast facing, which I actually prefer because then you can get the morning sunlight as well as throughout the day. This layout is like a tiny bit smaller than the first layout we saw, but honestly, not by much. Both of these layouts are actually bigger than our current 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. So I have to say the West has 2-bedroom layouts that are a lot bigger than the typical 2-bedroom layouts that you see in a lot of the luxury apartment buildings here in downtown.
Square footage wise.
Square footage wise, yeah. So this is the guest bed, and it still has a decent closet, I think. And then this one is the darker color scheme. So you're going to see darker cabinet colors, a darker backsplash, and also darker countertops. And again, this balcony, I mean, I feel like when you move to San Diego, you want a bigger balcony, right? That's kind of like the draw of San Diego is the weather. So I do have to say the balconies are just not the best at the West. But if you don't care about that, you get more square footage on the inside. So something to consider.
And just to give a little more context to that balcony, it's only about 2 doors wide. 2 doors in length and about a door wide.
Something we mentioned in previous apartment tour videos is that when the window and door frames on the inside are black, it does make an apartment look a little bit smaller, as opposed to when they are painted like white on the inside. It just feels like the space is a little bit more open and a little bit bigger. I honestly didn't notice it too much in the West particularly, and I do think most of the apartments that are opening up recently have had black window frames and door frames. So it's not like you're gonna get a lot of variety here when you're looking at all the apartments in downtown. Another extra thing that they did, which I love, which I think all apartment buildings should do, is that they have outlets on the ground. Mostly in the living room. I don't remember if they had them in the bedroom specifically, but in the living rooms they had multiple outlets on the floor, which is fantastic. Depending on the layout you choose, you're going to either get a tub or a standing shower for your primary bedroom. So if you are a fan of a specific type, you might want to look out for that.
Also, here, there's only a single sink versus a double in the other one, right?
And again, with the color scheme in the bathroom, you can see that that translates to gray tile. Now, when it comes to the view, the West is a little inland, I would say, and there are a lot of taller buildings kind of surrounding it, so you are really getting that city view. There are layouts that have views of the ocean, but in general, I think you're gonna see a lot of tall buildings. So I personally prefer a more open view where it's not like a bunch of buildings right next to it. But if you don't mind a city view, or if that is what you prefer, then I think there are some great views at the West. Coming up on our north 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom layout. So this is northwest. This is around the same size as that first apartment that we saw in terms of overall square footage. So it's, you know, on the bigger side, I would say, again, for a 2-bedroom layout. And this has some really pretty views of Balboa. You can actually see like the Balboa Tower. I don't know if that's the actual name for it, but you can see the Balboa Tower from here. You can see Coronado Island, and this balcony is actually the largest balcony of all of the 2-bedroom layouts. And you'll see it here, but it kind of extends a lot farther down than any other balcony in any apartment layout. So that's something definitely to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's genuinely picturesque. You can see some of the islands off of California, right off of San Diego over there, and that's Coronado Island that you see right over the water. So while this is the northwest facing apartment, which I think is the orientation you like the least, I think you like the view here the most, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it gets, I feel like, the least amount of sunlight during the day, but the view to the ocean is the prettiest. I mean, listen, it's San Diego, it's gonna be sunlight regardless. And these apartments are all floor to ceiling, or almost ceiling windows, so it's not gonna be that big of a deal. The other really cool thing about this layout is that the guest side of the apartment has a walk-in closet as well. I think that is huge.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the amount of storage you get with this layout is kind of ridiculous. You get 2 full walk-in closets, which is amazing. Not to mention both bathrooms are fantastic. They do lack like the double sinks like you mentioned earlier, but honestly, I don't mind that much.
And as you can see, the view just is brilliant.
Going into the primary bedroom, I think the closet size here is also, again, great. I think the room size is Once again, a little bit smaller, I feel like, than we're used to, or maybe that's my mind playing tricks on me because there's not actually furniture in there. But I feel like closet space kind of makes up for it, and then the bathroom just connects to the primary bedroom, which is great, and it has a standing shower, which I personally prefer.
This is a much higher up apartment than any of the others we've seen so far, which could give the illusion of just a wide open space directly ahead of you, where in the lower floors there would be buildings a little closer by. I think one of the things you're mentioning, actually, with the northwest facing apartment specifically here was when you look to your left out of that view, it's a lot more open, or it feels a lot more open because there's distance between you and the next building towards the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no obstructions. There's not as many obstructions towards the ocean as with some of the other layouts or even some of the lower floors.
Yeah.
And finally, we're going to tour a one-bedroom layout. This is the largest one-bedroom that they have, but make sure to check the website for the other one-bedroom layouts. This one is 812 square feet. I think this is a great size for a one-bedroom. This is actually, I believe, larger than our first one-bedroom in Detroit, so this would be fantastic.
This is a south-facing apartment. As you can see from the views are just immaculate.
And again, I feel like there's not as many close-up skyscrapers, so you just have that unobstructed view of the ocean, which I prefer, and a massive walk-in closet. I mean, you can do so much with the space. You can put in like a dresser in there as well. The bathroom is also ginormous. I just feel like, yeah, this just gives you a lot of space to work with.
It's also cool in that you have two doors, one that you can access from the bedroom and then one that's open to the living room area, so you don't have to have guests walking through your bedroom if that was the only entrance. You also have the closet in between there, so...
Yeah.
I mean, personally, we're not the biggest fans of that kind of layout, so that door would probably just stay closed.
And I think for a one bedroom, I honestly think this balcony space is not bad.
Agreed.
But something about the kitchen that I think is fantastic is you still have that space for stools, and you can make that your dining room table. And because of the L layout of the countertops, you actually end up having a lot of space for prep work and for cooking. And we didn't mention this before, but they're all gas stoves, which is fantastic. Yeah. Take it from Chumley, who does all our cooking. He loves those.
So all of the units have the in-unit washer dryer, which again is brilliant. And they all have, I believe it's the Ecobee smart thermostats, which you should be able to control with your app. They also have automated rollers for some of the windows. So for example, in that specific unit, it only did it for half of the window. The other half was still manual, which is kind of strange. And on the upper floors, I believe they actually do have a similar situation. But again, I don't know which ones are manual, which ones are automatic. There's a cool little party trick.
So the West has two different floors for amenities. Floor 37, which is the top floor, is residents only, and we'll talk about this in a second, but that means that only the apartment residents can access this floor. So there's an outdoor terrace that has a fire pit, seems pretty cozy at night.
And then there's the green room, which I just find to be such a funny word, but in this room there is a lounge chair, like a large sofa, a TV, as you can see up there, a little counter space that you can just chill and watch movies or relax in. This is northeast facing, so you're able to watch the planes coming in, as you can see there, Balboa Park, and then again northeast side of the city.
It's called the green room because of all of the different hues of green. Then on the other side of the floor is the Skyline Lounge, which is
breathtaking.
I think this is the most breathtaking part of the West is this lounge. The furniture is done really nicely, and the views, obviously, because it's floor 37 of downtown. It's just fantastic. I mean, I can imagine if you're a person that likes to spend time in your apartment's lounge, like this would be a fantastic spot to wind down in, especially to watch the sunset. Like that would be kind of incredible here.
Absolutely. And funny enough, this is the entire western side of the 37th floor of the West.
Exactly, yeah. So you can imagine that sunset over Point Loma. Oh, it would be so beautiful. It has a pool table. It also has a full kitchen and fridge and stove. So you can actually rent out this space. The only issue is because it's so huge, you have to rent out the full Skyline Lounge all the way to the end, so it gets a little pricey. I believe it's $375 an hour. You can also rent out the green room, which is smaller, for $100 an hour, so that's also an option. And then when you step out from the Skyline Lounge, you have they call it the Tower Bar, Terrace, just because of that like cute little tower that they have in there. It kind of looks like a lifeguard tower, which I thought was pretty cute. It has like a grill area, and then more fire pit. And then right around the corner of that bar area is the pool and hot tub.
Again, just like a very nice loungy space. Like there's a small pool here, the hot tub, as Ashley mentioned. So there's some showers and a small locker room, I believe, as well, just to get changed. But yeah, it's just like a very like intimate, smaller space.
I would say this pool size is around the same size as some of the smaller pools at luxury apartment buildings that we've been touring recently. It gets up to 4 feet 6 inches deep, which I think is it's standard for high rises, I think, but it is pretty shallow. But if you're the type of person that loves like a rooftop view, which I know a lot of you are, I've been seeing some of the comments, this is kind of it for you, right? Like you could watch the sunset from here.
Really from the hot tub,
yeah,
right at the
exactly.
corner.
Yeah, you could watch the sunset from the hot tub. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that. This is just off of that pool/skyline lounge area. This is called the Study. And it's very small, but very cutely decorated and bright. And you can reserve that spot for $50 an hour as well. Moving down to the level 9 amenities, this is where it gets interesting because this entire floor is mixed use, which means that anyone who works at the West, like all of the office people, can use this entire floor, which is kind of great. Like I loved mixed use buildings in general. I think it's great for a downtown area, but just something to note because the gym, which is 24 hours, the office residents, the office employees can use this space as well. So I don't know what that means in terms of how busy it'll get once those offices are leased.
So this is the yoga studio and like HIIT studio. So in addition to just having like what looks like a mirror normally, there's a display that has some pre-programmed workouts that you can use for the spin classes that they have there. They also have an outdoor workout area where you can just go outside. They have a few more pieces of equipment out there that you can use as well, which is nice that you can flow in and out of the gym space. In terms of gyms, I mean, as you can see, it's pretty well set, but we're not gym people to comment too far on that.
And then right outside the gym space is the sun deck. So this is more of like an open air walking around space. It has some seating, it has some lounge areas, it has fire pits. It also has a grill and some bigger tables if you're hosting a larger party. So that's something to note.
And some paths that kind of cut through. It kind of feels like a mini park in the sky, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and we didn't see this part, but there is a pet relief area or like a dog park. I don't know how big it is, but there is one on this open deck. And then we move into what they call the West Commons, which is again a mixed-use space. I'm imagining that the offices will rent this out most times to have some of their conferences because there is like a conference area to one side, and then on the other side is like a lounging section and then workspaces, like individual work rooms. I don't think you can rent them out. I think they're just first come, first serve. But they are really nice rooms. But again, I'm imagining a lot of the office employees will be using these spaces. And then on the parking garage level, there is a mailroom. Again, I think you need your apartment fob to get into this mailroom, and there's secured slots. And then there's also a dog wash.
Which is adorable.
Which is really cute. Yep, there's dog washing stations. I feel like most of the newer apartment buildings have this, so that's great. So overall, a couple things that we wanted to note about the West. So it is, like we mentioned, a mixed-use space, which is in general fantastic for the downtown area. I hope more of these open. But what that means is that the office employees will also be using the parking garage. And yes, we actually went right around like the end of the workday to take a tour, and we found out firsthand that in the future this might become a problem for residents if you're trying to leave the parking garage right at the end of the day. Yeah, at the 5 p.m. And I imagine it would be the same around like 8 a.m. when people come into work. The issue becomes that everyone's trying to get into the garage or leave the garage all at the same time. So there could be a traffic buildup within the parking garage itself, which could be annoying for residents.
And I think that's only because there's a single entrance. Again, we didn't double check that, but based on where we parked, and that was like the main entrance to the parking lot, it seemed like a single entrance. So there was a fairly long line trying to get out of the parking lot at the time.
And another piece of information about the West is that it is located right next to the county courthouse and the county jail. So in general, when we went, it seemed very safe.
Absolutely. I had no problem with that. It was a very safe environment. There's police everywhere. It was a very well secured area. I mean, it's also right by the federal building. So this is like the entire judiciary of San Diego and police force is right around the West.
I also get a lot of questions and concern about the unhoused population in downtown San Diego, and it's a very real reality of living in a big downtown city, especially in California. And I would say the West itself has a lot less of unhoused population than some of the other areas downtown. So if that's a concern for you, I would say you don't have to really worry about that at the West, just because it is around a lot of the federal buildings. Another cool thing coming soon is that Holland, the property management company that does the West, is actually opening up a second apartment building, like down the street, down the block.
The East. No, I'm joking. I don't know what it's called.
It's called the Tory, not the East. Thank you so much. And it is opening up in a couple of years, but Whole Foods is actually signed on to open, I believe, in 2026 on the first floor of that building. So it would be really fantastic for the West residents because you can just walk down the block to get your groceries. And also Cava, if you are familiar with the phenomenon that is Cava.
I have no idea what that is.
We've never been, but I hear it's like a big thing now. That is opening up very soon on the first floor of the West, so you can get a quick meal at Cava. A couple other notes about the apartments themselves. They have Cox and AT&T
fiber internet,
and then they also have cement across the floors and then also across the apartments, so dividing the apartments. And I think that that's a huge selling point for us, because we want cement between apartment buildings so that the noise is highly reduced.
I'm a very loud person.
Yeah, he's a very loud person. We've also been in apartments where there's only drywall between the apartments, and you can just hear everything that your neighbor is doing, and that's not the best. So to give you guys like a final recap of how we feel about the West, I honestly think it's probably in my top 5 of luxury high-rise apartments in downtown San Diego. They definitely did a great job. I think the amenities are great. They're pretty standard, I would say, for all of the luxury buildings, but not to say they didn't do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic building, and like the views are awesome.
When it comes to the prices for the West apartments, I do think that the prices are a little high. Now, granted, the square footage is probably like the biggest apartments that we've seen in all of the luxury apartments in downtown San Diego, so I can kind of see where they're coming from. Hopefully in the next year or two, those prices go down a little bit, but right now, in terms of prices, they're probably right around like Simone prices, and I don't know that I would pay that for Simone. I would maybe think about it for West just because of the bigger apartments.
Yeah.
There's also the Radian that they're kind of competing with.
And the Radian's a little more luxury. It's right in almost the downtown Gaslamp area. So you're right by all of the party scenes, the club scenes. It's also a little more private, the Radian, than the West is.
The Radian definitely has, I think it has less units, and I feel like it's a smaller, like closer community of people that live there. So the West is competing with a couple different apartments at this point, so you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons. Like we mentioned with the balcony sizes, it is smaller than the Radian balconies, smaller than the Diego balconies.
I truly think they are the smallest balconies we've ever seen. On the 1-bedroom, I believe it was, or maybe one of the 2-bedroom layouts where it's only 2 doors wide. It almost felt like you open the door and like that's it. That's really all you're getting.
Which is a big disservice to a 2-bedroom layout. Like you expect, especially when you're paying some of these prices, a bigger balcony. And something to note, only the apartments on the 15th floor and above even have balconies. So if you really don't care about balconies, maybe you've lived in San Diego your entire life and you really don't realize the privilege you have with weather and you don't care about balconies, maybe the West is the building for you. Yeah, I think it's the balconies that are holding us back from moving to the West. I mean, everything else is very similar to the Diego, just like maybe even a little bit upgraded. The prices are higher, right? So I would also potentially hold back because of that right now. And also it doesn't have a sauna, which Chumley is the #1 fan of saunas right now.
They're great. As a final note, one of the other things about the building is the west side entry of the building, which is where you saw that lobby space initially, is actually gorgeous. It's very well designed. There's a nice little walkway. Again, it's kitty corner to the San Diego courthouse. And so it's just a very nice presentation of the building. And it's very unique in terms of any of the other apartment buildings we've visited.
Yeah, and honestly, it brings me hope that a lot of the newer apartment buildings that are coming up, like, take a note from the West and kind of put in that architectural design on the floor as well, like before you enter the building. Because I feel like a lot of these luxury apartment buildings do a great job with the interior design, which is fantastic, but there is something to be said about adding to the beauty of a downtown landscape, and I think the West does a great job of that.
Yeah, it really makes, like, it becomes another statement piece in addition to the courthouse and the federal building, like, park area that's, again, directly in front. So there's a lot to do right by the West, which kind of makes it in like a really nice space to interact with.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, West, top 5 for me for sure. Is it top 5 for you?
I think so, but I wouldn't see ourselves moving in there because I can't stand those balconies.
And it doesn't have a sauna.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I hope this helped you decide on whether you're moving to the West or not. Or maybe you want to check out some of the other videos we've made about some of the other luxury high-rise buildings. Maybe one of those would be better suited for you. So thanks for coming along on our tour, and I hope to see you guys back very soon.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.